See, and let's share a little bit of it. Ray, you have it?
Yes, let me go to where they talk about the unmet demands here. First, they said the declaration of a state of emergency is an unmet demand, as in has not been done by government.
Right.
Two, despite the urgency of the situation, government has not declared a state of emergency as demanded by our coalition. This critical step is essential to effectively halt both legal and illegal mining operations, especially in forest reserves and around water bodies. Without this declaration, the measures implemented remain insufficient to curb the destructive impact of mining activities. 3. Complete cessation of mining in forest reserves and water bodies. And 4. We call for the immediate halting of all mining activities, legal and illegal, in forest reserves and around water bodies. To date, the demand has been unmet, with no firm action to revoke licenses granted for prospecting and mining in these sensitive areas. Now, the government's suspension of enforcement related to mining regulation LI 2462 is, could you listen, a far cry from the demanded revocation, leaving loopholes that continue to endanger Ghana's environment. They also asked for the evacuation of mining equipment and strict law enforcement. Our demand for the immediate evacuation of all mining equipment from these areas has not been fully addressed. While the government has redeployed military personnel to aid in law enforcement efforts, these actions are limited and do not reflect the comprehensive measures needed to remove and destroy all illegal equipment involved in mining activities. Urgent action, they say, given the developments, we call on all Ghanaians to rally behind the Red Band campaign beginning today, the 10th of October. Red Band campaign. This campaign, symbolized by the wearing of a red band, is a visual representation of our collective demand for immediate and decisive action against illegal mining. They will monitor and put pressure and ensure that government does not ignore its commitments. There's an urgent need for government to clarify the commitment made by publishing clear timelines and indicators so actions are progressive rather than ad hoc, as we have seen over the years. They further call on government to align its commitment with the demands of the Ghanaian people. A failure to meet these demands not only threatens our environment but also undermines the rule of law and endangers the livelihoods of countless communities that rely on clean water and intact ecosystems. We urge the government to expedite action to dismantle illegal operations without delay.
Right. Okay. Now, this is signed by Ken Ashigbe, and this organization, Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey, has the backing of some very hefty names, including Albert Kwabena Gyampo, who, of course, is GJA president, Cecil Sunkwa Mills of Giba. We have Senyo Hosi, Darrell Busu, Jonathan Goka, Kofi Abochi, Carol Anang, Ben Boache, Eugene Safun Kansan Yao Nsakon, Gloria Hiaji, and we are joined by Frank Edu, who is going to help us understand what the next steps are. Mr. Frank Edu, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Good morning to your listeners.
Indeed, and thank you for making time to speak to us. So, yeah, your statement is categorical, it's specific, but it comes after government has taken some measures. We are currently aware that there's a deployment of military. They're going out there to, stop illegal mining. We know that there's been an order from Jubilee House for the LI 2462 to no longer be implemented by the bodies that enforce it, EPA, Environmental Ministry. And then, of course, they've set up some special courts. Do these actions not rise to the level of a positive response from government?
It's a step that government has taken, but let's look at the magnitude of the problem. We have a dire problem on our hands. It threatens our very existence as human beings. Water is a finite commodity, and it's essential to life. These actions that government has recently taken are not necessarily new. If my memory serves me right, these courts was supposed to have been set up in 2017. How many people have they prosecuted? In any case, when they have prosecuted anybody, it's those boys in the field. But we all know that there are people behind these boys who are the power brokers, who have the clout to do what they're doing. So yes, government are taking some actions, but as far as this coalition is concerned, it's not enough. You know, I have a particularly big problem with government over the years allowing people to put mining equipment called Shanfan on rivers. That for me is mindless. I mean, it's killing yourself. It's suicide, you know, because it just doesn't make sense to me. How do you willingly poison your only water source? So yes, government has taken some steps, but as far as this coalition is concerned, it's not enough. And let me make one thing very clear. Others may politicize the issue, and you must expect politicians to do so. But this coalition against Galamsey is totally apolitical. It does not matter who is in power. We will continue this fight against Galamsey through whichever government does against any government which does not fight Galamsey. So we are very clear on our unmet demands, which we read out.
Right.
And I think that we need the support of Ghanaians across the board to support us. Because this is an existential fight.
So today is a red band day, and you're encouraging all who support your cause to wear red bands in solidarity in the fight against Galamsey. Now, there are many members of society who had banked their hopes on organized labor. We have seen them achieve results by putting pressure on government in the past, most recently with the Senate matter. How much of a blow is organized labor's announcement yesterday that the strike has been suspended to this fight?
I think it's a big blow because organized labor is powerful. Their actions can cripple the machinery of government and create a very unsavory situation for all and sundry, which forces government then to act. Now, in their wisdom, they believe government has met them some way in their demands, so they have suspended the strike. To the extent that their initial agitation has gotten government to react to their demands up to a certain point, I think it's positive. But clearly, if organized labor had gone through with the action, I think the impact would have been more. Having said that, not a problem. I mean, there are other organs, there are other people who support this fight against Galamsey, and I think we should just continue with it. You know, if government is just suspended, and I believe that organized labor, if they believe government is not meeting up, rising up to what they agreed, would reconsider their options.
Now, so Red Band Day starts today, but what other ways is your coalition intending to put pressure on government?
Well, I think the situation evolves, but we continue the advocacy, we continue the phone calls, you know, the strike. It's not a strike. This Red Band Day is not a day event. It's going to go on ad infinitum. And we're going to try and get as many people as possible to join. Look, it's a very powerful, symbolic, silent protest. And can you imagine if we're able to get school children going to school wearing red bands, you know, public transport, truck drivers, aboboya drivers, motorcycles, all of them carrying a red flag on their vehicles, on their motorbikes, etc. silently signifying to government that we disapprove of this inaction in fighting this existential threat that is being foisted on us as a people, and that we protest this attempt to kill all of us slowly through this illegal and irresponsible mining. And so please do something about it. I think that it's a massive symbol or symbolic act that government will have to react to.
Thank you. I want you to stay with us, Mr. Frank Edu, as I bring in Professor Ransford, who is the president of University of Ghana's chapter of UTAG. Prof, good morning again.
Hi. Morning.
Yes, we've spoken quite a few times in the past few days. Prof, your strike begins. Have you had any response from government as yet?
Oh, we declared strike just last night and circulated same decision last night, and so I know some people try to call some of us asking what can be done and all that, but that was before the decision was taken. And so this morning I've seen a lot of calls, but I'm always on the phone talking to you guys in the media, so I don't know who exactly has called, but basically I've not heard. This morning we have not heard anything from
when you say
government, maybe because we just started.
Some people called you asking what could be done. Which people called you yesterday?
Oh, but why am I supposed to be mentioning this?
I'm just finding out, since you're saying some people.
No. I mean, this is you should know this. This is typical of politicians. They won't do the right thing, but when you want to strike, then they begin to call and to find out what they can do to prevent you from going on a strike. But my position has always been that you just accede to the demand of labor. If even they are unreasonable, we dialogue about them to make sure that there is some win-win situation, and then we all can move. We are not interested in going on strike, becoming one too many. But you see, this particular strike, we are more passionate about it. This goes beyond asking for conditions of service, improved conditions of service. So we are willing to die about it because it is existential threat to humanity. And so we are more fired to ensure that the right thing is done. That's why we have decided to go this route when we saw what organized labor, I won't say organized labor, but for some 2 people or 3 people who are leading organized labor sought to do yesterday. And so, please, across the 15 public universities in Ghana, they have given a resounding support via voting to the leadership of UTAG that we should strike. And it tells you how passionate and committed they are to this matter.
Okay. Now, talking about an existential threat, so organized labor, of which you were part, if I could say at the time, requested a state of emergency declared in areas where mining is being undertaken illegally, as in our water bodies, forest reserves and buffers. They talked about the revocation of the LI permitting mining in forest reserves and the setting up of specialized courts. Government has talked about the LI. It says they're ceasing its enforcement in the government statement. We've also seen the establishment of courts. What is left for government to do that would convince you that you have to call off your...
You see, it's all about it's all about trust deficit. Okay? We don't trust them. And partly because you Winston interview, you understand this. Sometimes the kinds of things they tell you behind the scenes and then the different things they tell you at discussion tables makes you doubt. Look, let's put aside what they are told behind the scenes. Okay. We declare our intention that by the end of September, if government doesn't do anything about this illegal mining, we will strike. Then quickly, government puts together an interministerial committee headed by Kandapa to call organized labor into a meeting. Some of us insisted that we shouldn't honor such an invitation because it was going to be much ado about nothing. I've been in labor unionism too long to know that politicians, they don't mean well, and especially when they sit down for you to strike and they call when you're about to strike, then they would deliberately be holding some of these meetings just to be throwing spanners in your field. I told them they shouldn't go. But of course, there are also some more elderly people amongst us who felt that, look, if they call you, you should show respect and courtesy. And today I said, politician who doesn't respect us, we don't have to respect them. But they prevailed, and we all agreed that they should go. So they summoned all labor union to Alisa Hotel, went to spend state's money to hire a hotel. And we went. We spoke our mind. We were told that in 1 week time, we were going to revert to us. 7 days lapsed. We didn't hear from them. They didn't get the courtesy to even tell us that for XYZ reason, we cannot, you cannot hear from us, or we are unable to get back to you. 8 days, 9 days, 10 days, they never showed us any dignity by honoring their own promise to revert to us. So if such a person tells you that I'm going to do this to you, for you tomorrow, will you trust the person? So it is lack of trust. Yes, government has said that Parliament reconvenes on the 15th.
Yeah.
And on the 15th, we are going to ask the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to table a motion. So for the repeal of the LI that allow people to go and mine to destroy our forests. You just think about it. We give people permission. Look at us. We give people permission to go into forest, to mine, to destroy it. Let's clap for ourselves. But government says, well, it's going to do that on 15th. But some of us are of the view that that is not enough. Parliament reconvenes on the 15th. If the minister comes to tell you that, well, I am preparing to go and table it, 15th for lapse, 16th for lapse, and they will be tabling. And the fact that you table it does not mean that immediately Parliament is going to look into it. So they can look at it in perpetuity. Meanwhile, while they are doing so, some people are still destroying the water bodies, and they are still destroying the quality of the water that you and I are supposed to be drinking. So what some of us were proposing was that, can there be a temporary moratorium on mining? If for nothing at all, at the minimum, let the president just announce that, look, henceforth there is a moratorium on mining temporarily. It can just be 1 week. It can just be 3 days. It can just be 1 month. And once there is moratorium, everybody in the hinterlands know, hey, government is serious now. Then we can all interrogate the feasibility of the interventions the government wants to be implemented. And then we can have a national consensus on them, and Labour would assist partner government in ensuring that these things are implemented to be sure that we keep ourselves, we keep our water bodies safe. Right. And so first of all, let there be some temporary moratorium, and then let us have a national conversation about it. A government that means well should not find this difficult to do.
Right.
So it's just that we didn't trust. And don't forget, the interventions that were outlined yesterday to us, they were the same interventions that were outlined to us on Monday, which organized labor looked at and rejected. So if you looked at those interventions on Monday and rejected, why do you bring the same interventions on Wednesday and say, let's accept? So for some of us, it didn't make sense to us.
Yeah.
And so then we had to go our separate ways. And take note of this. Organized labor didn't decide on anything. Please take note of this.
So we went
into the meeting, and the room was full of about up to 60 people. When we got there, the media, you guys were there. They asked that you guys, the leaders, Joshua and CLOGSAG man and Gyampo, they asked you guys in the media to excuse us. And before then, UTAG had already voted that they want to go on an industrial action. In the morning, when I was attending the meeting in the afternoon, I had to brief my members, telling them that please, even though you have voted to go on strike, government, we are told, has made some enhanced proposals that will help in the fight against Galamsey. And so we are going to listen. And so prepare yourself. If we go and then what government has said, we believe are acceptable and will help, then it means you have to resign your decision to go on strike. So expect a briefing from us. Now we went to the meeting. Joshua came and we're expecting him to brief us. But he came with a prepared and an already signed statement. He started reading, government had done X, Y, Z, and so because of that, let's suspend the strike. And then he said, but are we toddlers or kids? Who does he think he is, and how is he seeing us? You said you were coming to brief us on interventions, enhanced interventions from government. Brief us, you are now reading a prepared statement, a prepared and signed statement. So we were upset with him. He apologized and then withdrew or decided that, okay, he's not going to read, and then he went on to outline what the government said it was going to be doing. Then we told him that what you have outlined to us today, they are not different from the very things you outlined to us on Monday, which we decided that were not enough, and so our strike should still be in force. So nothing has changed. And so whilst we're bantering or offering our different views about what had happened, then abruptly, Gyampo called in the media. Yes, you guys, the media, come. So we were just there before we realized the media was there. And people started then walking out. And then they read the already prepared speech to the media. Do you see this as organized labor meeting or organized labor, decision? Let me tell you how we decide. When we go for meeting, before we decide, we pray, and then we sing patriotic songs, and then we sing our own anthems. When we finish with the meeting, we pray, and then we sing and we chant before we all went back in peace. This meeting was, never ended. Before they called in the media, people started walking out, and then they read a statement that they had prepared already, which they attempted reading, which we rejected. They read that to the media. So this is not an organized labor decision. It's a decision of Joshua and Gyampo. They took that decision. And we felt that they couldn't, we don't know who dictated that statement for them, who wrote that statement for them, we don't know. And they could not force that statement and its content on all of us. Not all of us are manipulable.
Right. If you just joined us, we're having a conversation about yesterday's events and, of course, what is to come.
And Winston, if we could
Prof, if you can give us just a moment. Let me remind our audience of what we're doing. We're having a conversation with Frank Edu and Professor Ransford. And Frank Edu, of course, represents the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey. And Professor Gyampo is the president of UTAG, University of Ghana chapter. We're talking about Labour's announcements from yesterday and, of course, the continuing fight against Galamsey. Prof, you had something to add.
Oh, no. I was just saying that if it could be snappy, because your other colleagues also want a little bit of what I have to say on their stations. And
right. In that case, just
hijack me.
I understand. Just before you leave, before the strike was postponed, one of the big criticisms of organized labor's intended strike was from those who suggested that it's actually unlawful for organized labor to go on strike on an issue that is not an industrial matter, a matter between labor and its employers, or something to do with the workplace or work conditions, and that the labor laws provide for restrictions when it comes to what you can and cannot strike about, and that Galamsey does not fall into the category of things that you can strike about. What's your reaction to that, bearing in mind you are on strike?
And labor is supposed to fight for the interest of its members. You see, we are a NATO country, a people, no action, talk only country. NATO, no action, talk only. If the person, whoever will that view, if the person is, feels strongly about that, the person should go to court. But let the person know that labor union leaders are supposed to fight to promote and to protect the interest of their constituents. And if my constituent member is suffering from cancer because the water he or she is drinking has been compromised or has been polluted by heavy metal, you don't think that it is part of my duty as a labor unionist to fight to protect the interest if my worker, my constituent member is sick because of pollution of the environment and pollution of the water bodies? You don't think that it is in their interest that I fight for them to ensure that what is making them sick is kept, is addressed? So we fight for the interest of our members. If it is salary inadequacy, if our salaries are not good and our salaries are small, it is in their interest that we fight for improved conditions of service and salaries for them. If certain things that are being done to the environment is making or have the potency to make our constituent body sick, it is in their interest that we fight to ensure that those things that are going to make them sick are addressed. And so, please, if the person doesn't understand this, let him take organized labor and its leadership to court, and we will be there to meet the person there to talk about this.
Okay, thank you very much for your time with us, Prof. Gyampo. Mr. Fuss, have you had any communication from government following your statement and the announcement of the action you intend to take going forward?
Not that I know of. No.
What is your expectation? The president has really, in recent times, not said a word about this. What is your expectation? What are you hoping to hear from government?
In all this, I've kept wondering, what does it take to say that there should be no mining on water bodies? I mean, it's illegal. It's not backed by any law. It's wanton destruction of a natural resource. What will it take for government to issue a dictum and say that there should be no shanfan, no mining on any river? Look at what is happening to our rivers. And that continues to beat my mind, because that is you forget about the Galamsey on the land surface. On the river bodies, what stops government from saying, as of today, no mining in the river bodies? So what are our expectations? Our expectation is that we will get the common man, the public, to join this red band campaign. Keep wearing red every single day. On Fridays, we make it a Red Friday. We ask the Muslims, as they're going to the mosque, etc., to wear red in support of our campaign. And we ask Christians to wear red to support the Muslims. On Sunday, the Christians wear red to go to church. And we ask the Muslims to support the Christians by wearing red. We get students, children, everybody to simply wear red. We are not protesting. We are not in the streets. We are not meeting anywhere. is just the individual Ghanaian telling the government that please save our lives. Please save our lives. We cannot make a decision, a deliberate decision, to commit ecocide and mass murder by continuing with this mindless, dastardly act of illegal mining and irresponsible mining.
I want to say a big thank you to you, Mr. Frank Edu, for your time with us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, Frank Edu there. He speaks for the coalition, the Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey.